Welcome to our very first live video on the YouTube channel. We're also live on our Facebook page, Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. Of course, I am your host, Michael Davis, but this isn't quite a podcast. So if you are one of our Spotify listeners, this will not be on Spotify. This is a very YouTube and Facebook exclusive video, as we had to move our podcast from Friday afternoons to Monday afternoons, where you have Mic Drop Mondays. Our podcast drops on Monday afternoons. I have a sports talk radio show on Tobacco Road Sports Radio and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. And starting this Friday on WWBG 1470 AM across the Triad, especially in Greensboro. And I was like, okay, we need some content. But we have extreme rules. We have extreme rules tonight. As we are recording this live on Saturday morning, it is 10:30 a.m. where I am. But I have a guest with me that we are going to talk about. And I would love to welcome to the stream Mr. Seydo. Now, before Seydo comes in, you will have to know that Seydo is going to have a different accent than me. And that's okay, because wrestling is global. It's phenomenon. He is also he's actually the main guy for the Infinity of Wrestling Instagram page. So we will invite Seydo into the stream. Seydo, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you, bro. How about you?
I'm doing great. If you could tell us a little bit about your Instagram page, where can people find you?
Um, Infinity of Wrestling, like you said, thank you for the introduction, first of all. When you go on Instagram, type in Infinity of Wrestling, you'll see a whole lot of Bray Wyatt posts. But yeah, I like posting about wrestling, like connecting with fans and stuff like that. I'm also on Twitter, but not so active. So if you want to follow me, check out with me, go on Instagram, Infinity of Wrestling. I would love to see y'all.
Yes. And I mentioned we had different accents, which is okay. But Mr. Seydo, where are you from?
So I'm originally from Turkey, but I moved to Germany as a little kid. So yeah.
Yeah, so originally from Turkey, and now he's in Germany. And I'm sure you'll have to stay up late for tonight's Extreme Rules pay-per-view or premium live event, as they say now. And Seydo, before I get going, thank you so much for joining the show today. And I'm really excited to talk some Extreme Rules with you, but really some White Rabbit.
Good.
So
Enough.
So if anyone doesn't know what we're referencing, over the weeks, there's been this QR code that will flash on Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, and it hasn't aired on TV at all until last night's SmackDown. Sorry for the spoiler if you haven't watched it, but last night's SmackDown, it became painfully obvious who the White Rabbit is when Triple H opened the show on SmackDown, held a QR code up on the microphone, and it was just the pig and a voice saying the words, "Let me in," which if you see on our YouTube channel, it says, "Let me in, let Extreme in," which they've done both. We'll talk about that. But Seydo, are you expecting the one and only Bray Wyatt to appear tonight on Extreme Rules?
100%. Like, even with all the QR codes that have been shown in the past 2 weeks, I was like, okay, it's gotta be him. Like, although I wasn't so sure. But after last night, with the whole let me in, and you saw Huskus the pig in the QR code, it's gotta be him. Like, 100%.
Dude, it's got to be. Like, I don't know how you could, like, I don't know how it could be anyone else. I've flirted with the idea. Okay, it's going to be Adam Rose and it's going to be a swerve or whatever because Adam Rose and the Bunny. But this screams Bray Wyatt, and I feel like if Bray Wyatt doesn't show up, this would be like a huge letdown for the fan base, which Triple H usually doesn't do.
Absolutely.
So the one question I have is there's a theory going around, and no, we're not talking Austin Theory. We're still talking White Rabbit. There's a theory going around that the White Rabbit in Alice in Wonderland, his clock runs 2 days late. And so there's a theory going around that instead of appearing at Extreme Rules, the White Rabbit will actually make his reveal on Monday Night Raw. Seydo, I don't know about you. That's a bad idea.
Absolutely is. Like, they have to reveal him tonight. And personally, although I was like playing with the idea of him being revealed at Raw, I think like after last night, they had the second teaser where they were like tomorrow night and with the date of tonight. I think he's going to be revealed tonight. No chance he's going to be revealed at Raw.
Yeah. And just a reminder that, we're live on YouTube and Facebook. You can ask any question for myself and Seydo to answer, and we'll get your questions in. You could also send them on the Instagram channel, and my DMs are open, okay, for appropriate reasons, of course. And I got a question for Mr. Seydo and myself, and relating to the White Rabbit, who would this be? We have Wivis Oxendine Jr. I hope I'm not butchering that name. Mr. Oxendine Jr. asks, so how will Bray Wyatt reappear tonight? Seydo, I'm going to deflect this one to you because I'm still like conflicted on how he appears tonight. I don't know what match he could appear in or interfere. What's happening?
So I think there's actually a lot of possibilities where he could reappear. Like there's quite a few matches where he could appear, like the Raw and Twitter match, Cross McIntyre. But I think he's going to reappear during the match or after the match of Finn Balor and Edge.
Ooh, I've not heard that theory yet. Do tell why you think that.
Of course. Sorry. Okay, that's because I don't know how much you noticed of it, but during the QR code, there have been some references for some members of the Judgment Day, except Damian Priest. Like we've had the demon that could be like for Finn Balor. We've had that kill your father thing for Dominic Mysterio, or the Riptide for Rhea Ripley. And during last night's SmackDown, the X was purple, and the Judgment Day has like purple gear, you know?
Ooh.
So I absolutely see him returning during that match or after the match, but it's definitely going to be that match.
Oh wow, and that would definitely pop the crowd. If I had to guess, like I could totally, I didn't see that before. I could see how that would like fit together. I know a lot of people are not wanting Finn Balor to necessarily lead Judgment Day. I mean, I think Finn Balor is the guy to lead Judgment Day. Give Bray Wyatt his own thing. Maybe McIntyre and Cross. Maybe, but I wouldn't even be surprised if it's during or after the ladder match with the Raw Women's Championship. Only because Bray's ties to Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss has been teasing a darker character the last couple weeks, which could only mean, the Fiend or the White Rabbit. But Seydo, I am super excited for this. Just a reminder about the questions. You can send them on through YouTube and Facebook. I just got one where Hunter Davis asked, will the show live up to the name Extreme Rules? So if you see on YouTube, the title is Let Me In, but it's Let Extreme In, because one thing that Triple H has done has been he's allowed Extreme Rules to be Extreme Rules. One of my biggest gripes with Vince McMahon is you'd have your Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Every match would be contested under normal rules. Seydo, I know you know this. And there'd be one Extreme Rules match if we were lucky. But dude, every match we have this year is a stipulation. Like that is a huge win for wrestling fans.
Absolutely, man. Like, if you told me like 3 months ago we'd be in for one hell of a year for WWE, I'd probably be laughing at you, especially if you told me Triple H would be in charge, you know. But I'm very excited because not only do we have stipulation matches for every match, but the match card looks amazing itself. Like the match quality, I think this could be the pay-per-view of the year.
Dude, and especially if Bray Wyatt comes back. Like, I don't know how you could. And I'm a sucker for all these stipulations, and we're going to start getting into the card right now. We have a fight pit, which, if you've realized, Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins have had a brutal feud over the last few months. Their SummerSlam match actually got canceled, and I believe they've more than made up for that with how they've built this up. They're even bringing UFC legend Daniel Cormier in as a special guest referee. Seydo, how do you think this goes?
First of all, I'm very excited to see Daniel Cormier in that match because, like, the fight pit is like the UFC, you know, with the cage and stuff. And I think it's absolutely fitting for having one of the greatest UFC fighters in it. And as for the feud in the match, like, the feud has been amazing, probably one of the best of the year. But that's mainly because of Rollins. Nah, seriously, I think that match is going to be an absolute 10 out of 10 match. I'm very excited for it. And I honestly can't wait to see what kind of creativity both Riddle and Rollins will have and what kind of role Cormier will play in that match.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because I've already mentioned Daniel Cormier. They've already mentioned, his ties with Seth Rollins, his ties with Matt Riddle as being like the perfect like special guest referee. Obviously, WWE loves bringing in celebrities to bring eyes to the product, hence Logan Paul, which we won't get into any of that crown jewel talk. I could go on a rant for hours about that. But yeah, like this has been a good feud. I wonder, is Seth, because you mentioned this might be feud of the year. Is this better than the rivalry that Seth had with Cody Rhodes?
That's actually tough because you see, rivalry with Rhodes was amazing, don't get me wrong. But I feel like it was always obvious that like Cody is coming out of top, at least for me. I don't know how about you and how you felt. But like in this rivalry with Riddle, first of all, it feels more personal,
Mm.
and I don't know who could walk out victorious. Like Rollins won the first match, and I could see Rollins winning again, but on the other hand, it's Riddle's stipulation, you know, so it's hard.
Yeah, dude, that's the big thing is like this is personal. I think with Seth and Cody, it was always on a professional basis. Like Cody, you left, why'd you come back? And as soon as Seth mentioned Matt Riddle's kids, it was like, okay, that instantly anything in wrestling you can make personal by doing that alone. It is Matt Riddle's territory though, the fight pit. And Seth has a United States Championship match pending on Monday. We're going to talk about that a little more on the podcast on Monday. So if you had final prediction on this one, Seydo, who are you going with?
Matt Riddle.
Matt Riddle.
Yeah.
Uh, uh. You know what? I'm going Riddle too. Like this is, and if you look throughout this card, like we will, it's a toss up on a lot of these matches. But Riddle being in the fight pit, you have Seth Rollins having the United States title match on Monday. I could totally see Seth Rollins somehow finding a way to win the United States title because he deserves it right now by
Yeah.
far. he needs a title. Well, he doesn't need a title because he's great either way, but he really deserves a title. And yeah, I'll go Riddle. And maybe this ends the feud, or maybe Matt Riddle's like, yeah, I want that United States title now.
Oh, imagine.
Imagine. Hey, if you can't sell this rivalry in a fight pit, where can you settle it though?
Exactly, man.
But one feud that has gotten a lot of attention over the last few months is Edge versus his former faction, his own creation, Judgment Day. And Edge and Finn Balor are having an I Quit match. And you mentioned this could be potentially where Bray Wyatt shows up. But I want to focus on Edge because Edge is in the last year of his career. He's mentioned that he wants to retire next year in Toronto in, I believe, an August show. What does Edge do from here? Is this rivalry over after this, or what do we see from Edge?
I absolutely see it ending here because it's been going on. When did the Judgment Day start? At Wrestling, I believe, right?
Edge and Finn Balor is started like back in June, July timeframe.
So it's been a pretty long time for a feud
Mm-hmm.
without even a singles match happening. So I see it ending here, and I'm glad to be honest because like I love the Judgment Day, I love Edge, I love both of them, but that feud has been at some points tiring.
Mm-hmm.
So I see Edge moving on. I see Edge losing, by the way. Um, so yeah, I just expect a great match here because it's honestly one of my three matches. Like when Edge returned, I was like Finn Balor, I need that match. And then an I Quit match, that's one of my favorite situations. I'm in heaven.
Yeah. Now, what's really cool is I was just thinking about this the other day. Edge and Dream matches, right? When we were going into WrestleMania this past year, everyone was like Edge versus Cody, Edge versus Finn Balor, Edge versus Damian Priest, Edge versus AJ Styles. Like they were listing out matches for Edge to have, and somehow we've been able to get all but one. We haven't gotten Cody because he got hurt, obviously, but we've gotten Styles at Mania, and through Judgment Day, we were able to get Damian Priest. We were able to get Finn Balor. So they've done a really good job with this. You mentioned, do you think Finn Balor wins?
Yeah.
Okay, because I had the same theory. Because usually faces don't lose I Quit matches. How do you see this playing out?
That might be a reach, but the tease with AJ Styles the past 2 or 3 weeks, I
Mm-hmm.
could absolutely see AJ Styles helping Balor, like join the Judgment Day in the process, or with Bray Wyatt help. One of those two, but I don't see the clean finish. But either Styles or Wyatt is helping, I think.
Yeah, and if Bray Wyatt returns, I mean that would cause anyone to say I quit and run away from. If he comes back as the Fiend, it'd be interesting. Turn AJ Styles heel. We would get AJ Styles versus Edge again, which I wouldn't be opposed to. But I'm also going Finn Balor. One reason is there's a report going out now. I'm sure you've heard it, Seydo, where they're wanting to push Finn Balor. They're wanting to push Finn, and a win over Edge at Extreme Rules, where all eyes are going to be on the product, is a way to do it. How this happens, I feel like anytime you need a baby face to say I quit is for the sake of someone else. It could be putting Rey Mysterio in harm. It could also be involving Beth Phoenix in a way.
Yeah.
I I could see this starting a Rhea Ripley and Beth Phoenix feud for perhaps Crown Jewel or Survivor Series down the road. Yeah, but I'm impressed. I feel like both of us feel really good about Finn Balor winning this match. Now, what is a toss up is the good old fashioned Donnybrook match, which is basically like a Irish version of a street fight between the Brawling Brutes and Imperium. Really happy with all the stuff they've done so far. going back to Clash at the Castle. And then last night on SmackDown, they tried following that 5-star matchup, which I'd probably say, at least maybe a 4-star match last night on SmackDown. They're doing some of the best work of their career. What do you think of the Gunther and Sheamus rivalry going on right now?
The rivalry has been a lot of fun, man. Like ever since it started, I've been intrigued in every single thing they do. Like we talked a few of the year with Riddle and Rollins and like Rollins and Rhodes, but I think there could be a contender too. Like it's not as appreciated by fans. Like obviously matches are appreciated, but the feud
Mhm.
itself has been so much fun, man. So I'm very much looking forward to that match, especially with the whole of Imperium versus the whole of Brawling groups. And you know it's going to be hard hitting.
Dude, it's going to be nasty. I'm expecting a Shillelagh to come out again. Uh, when I think about who wins this one, though, uh, I want Imperium to win so bad. I want Imperium to win so bad. But with Gunther winning last night, I feel like the Brawling Brutes have this one in the bag, right?
Yeah, I agree with you.
I wouldn't be surprised if anything happens. But another toss up that we have on the show is Drew McIntyre versus Karrion Cross in a strap match. And give both these guys their credit, Seydo. Like these are two guys. Drew McIntyre, was the chosen one coming into WWE, and then got into the 3MB, and then he was released and completely transformed who he was, probably as a man and as a character. His body, full transformation. I saw him on SmackDown last night. I was like, he's probably gotten bigger in the last week. Like he continues to improve himself. And then Karrion Cross, who was a monster in NXT, and then Vince McMahon, you know, for lack of a better term, sorry, neutered Karrion Cross with the weird gladiator gimmick, and then Karrion Cross is released. And Karrion Cross, I actually met him at Starcast, which was Ric Flair's last match over in Nashville, Tennessee. I met him like 5 days before he came back to SmackDown. So perfect timing, by the way. Perfect timing. And he's rebuilt himself. Like they don't even mention his brief main roster run during the Vince era. Like give these guys credit for what they were able to do to reinvent themselves and resurrect their careers.
Yeah, 100%. Like they deserve all the credit in the world, because especially Drew McIntyre, man. Like imagine you going from 3MB to being world champion, winning the world title at WrestleMania. Like okay, it wasn't in front of fans. That was like a sad moment for him. But who can say that, man? Like being part of a stable who was kind of,
Yeah.
who beating Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania in the main event. I think it was the main event of the whole WrestleMania card, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Like,
So yeah,
dude, McIntyre, and I actually have a funny McIntyre story before we move on to who we think wins this match. This was during his like TNA run. There's a wrestling convention not too far down the road, and me, my dad, my brother are in an elevator with like 3, 4 other guys, and this is a very tight elevator, and we're going up and on like the second level, or we're going down actually, and like one floor down the elevator opens and it's Drew McIntyre, and Drew's initial response was I'll wait, and dad's like no, we'll make room, and so we're all squishing, and Drew McIntyre comes up and I'm just looking up, like it is literally like this. I'm like, well, probably his head's like all the way up here, and I'm like, oh hey. I mean, it was like a once in a lifetime opportunity. And SmackDown was great last night with the build that they had between McIntyre and Cross laying into McIntyre. I wasn't convinced about a strap match, but Seydo, I think they made the right decision with the way they've built it up.
yeah, 100%. Like I wasn't convinced either, Like I was like, strap match, I don't know. But Cross and McIntyre, they made it work so far, and I expect them to make it work tonight as well. So I'm very hyped for that. But I feel like the one thing I would probably change in this whole feud is Cross always came out on top in the segments and the attacks and stuff like that. And if he wins tonight, which is probably likely, since it's his first big match, how does McIntyre bounce back? How does he look like being attacked the whole time now losing the match? It's kind
Mhm.
of a hard situation to book.
Yeah, that's a good point. We got to touch on that for a couple minutes because, you know, dude, is it kind of a situation like Seth Rollins, where Seth Rollins can lose 3 straight matches to Cody and be okay after he lost that title match to Roman Reigns and was okay? Like, I feel like they've built Drew McIntyre up in a way where he can take the loss and not be hurt by it. Like, I could totally see this match ending with Karrion Kross choking Drew McIntyre out, and the
Yeah,
referee has to stop it. Like, finding that kind of loophole to keep Drew McIntyre looking strong.
yeah.
I mean,
I hope so, man.
yeah. I mean, do you think this feud continues after this?
Yeah, I think they will go on with that.
Yeah, because I could see a rematch at Crown Jewel maybe. That way, Drew McIntyre in front of that crowd could probably go over Karrion Kross in some weird stipulation. And it's very tricky with Karrion Kross being new to the main roster.
Yeah, but I think like with Triple H in charge, he'll make it work. He's obviously not perfect. No person's perfect, but he'll make it work.
Dude, he's at the top of his game right now. And
Yeah,
again, I swear he grew muscles from last Friday to this Friday. I was seeing him pounded down on Karrion Kross. I was like, oh, okay. Keep it up in the gym, Drew. Keep it up in the gym. I'm wearing a hoodie because I haven't the last couple weeks, but so I've already said I think Karrion Kross goes over this match, probably choking Drew McIntyre out with the strap, keeping Drew look strong, continue this feud. Who do you think wins?
yeah. I see Cross winning too, and that choking out scenario is a good one. So I'll go with that too.
Hey, thank you. I don't hear that I have good ideas often. Just a reminder that you can ask us a question on YouTube or Facebook Live about stream rules for myself and Seydo of Infinity of Wrestling to talk about. You can follow Infinity of Wrestling on Instagram. You used to go by something else, I'm pretty sure, though, right? Can
Yeah.
we talk about that for a second? Why'd you make the switch?
So my username was Reality Era WWE.
Yes.
And I changed it on 1st of January this year.
Mhm.
The reason for the change was, first of all, I posted a lot about AW Impact and stuff like that
Mhm.
last. So I was like, okay, this WWE thing doesn't make sense anymore. And on a more personal basis, I kind of had a rough year last year, right? So I wanted to change not only my personal life, but I was like, okay, let's switch it up on Instagram too. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, change the name, do it, and yeah,
Nice. Dude, that's pretty clutch, man. Yeah, because I remember the reality era of your Instagram, and I saw the switch to Infinity of Wrestling. And first, I was like, okay, I follow like X amount of wrestling pages. This was probably like, and then I started looking. I'm like, nope, this is the same guy. And again, always been a fan of your content. You just do so well, especially with the time zone difference. You were posting live during SmackDown, which there's for those who don't know, there's a 6-hour time difference between myself and Seydo. So, when SmackDown was going on at like 9 o'clock, it was 3 a.m. your time.
yeah,
Dude, what a trooper. You're under the weather. You stayed up late last night and you're still on the live Facebook and YouTube video right now. You're doing great, man.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Um, and so, just like Infinity of Wrestling, if you guys are not following me on Instagram yet, at Drop the Mic Wrestling, we're also on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify. This video will not be on Spotify. I just want to clarify that. Okay. But we will have a mic drop Monday for the Drop the Mic Wrestling podcast on Monday, and we'll talk about the impending debut of the one Bray Wyatt. Hopefully he's returned and we can talk all about that. But after this Drew McIntyre Karrion Kross, I'll say this. I thought this McIntyre and Kross was going to be the main event. But the more I think about it, the more I lean to one of the two women's championship matches main event in this show, because we don't have the WWE Universal Championship match. Roman Reigns taking this pay-per-view off. We don't have the undisputed tag team titles, but these two women's matches are starting to feel like they are headlining matches. We have a ladder match between champion Bianca Belair and Bayley. These are actually the only two title matches on the show, surprisingly. Which I'm not mad about it with all the stipulations that Triple H has put into. What do you think of a one-on-one ladder match, which we rarely get anymore?
I think, like, considering who's in the match, it's a great choice. I love ladder matches. I'm a huge fan of them. And Bianca has been on the top of her game since for like 2 or 3 years now. And with
Mm,
Baby just turning, having a hot faction, I think this match is going to be an absolute show stealer. Very excited, and I think they're going to go creative ways we have never seen before. That's how much I anticipate this match.
wow. And that's what you really need. Um, that's what you really need for a one-on-one ladder match, right? Like that's what you need. You need that creativity because there's not 5, 6, 7, 8 guys doing a bunch of spots. It's like two wrestlers going at it. You could compensate that for a little bit if we have Damage Control come out. Asuka's hurt. She might pop up again. Alexa Bliss, depending on the whole Bray Wyatt White Rabbit situation. Um, but yeah, if there's any two who can bring out their creative juices to make a one-on-one ladder match interesting, it's these two, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So Mr. Seydo of Infinity of Wrestling, you can follow him on Instagram. Damage Control is obviously was one of the first like big Triple H signings or moves. Okay, Karrion Kross and Scarlett were the first to debut that we talked about on the last match, but SummerSlam was the first like Triple H premium live event where he was in control of how the show went. I believe
Yeah.
this is the Extreme Rules is actually the first premium live event that he's booked from start to finish. But he started that out with bringing out Io Sky, bringing out Dakota Kai, and forming Damage Control with Bayley's return. Have they made the impact that everyone expected them to?
They did, but I think there's a small but because I don't know. That could be me only. But the way Dakota and Io have been booked, it feels like they took losses where they shouldn't have took me out. So that's kind of questionable. But other than that, great faction, lots of fun.
I'm so glad you brought that up because right now Dakota Kai and Io Sky are the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, but they were in a tournament to crown the new champions, and they like, how do you have them lose to Aaliyah and Raquel Rodriguez for just like for no reason? Like, I don't even understand the thought and concept. And Triple H has hit like 9 out of 10 balls out of the park.
Yeah,
That was the one where I'm like, really?
yeah, bro, you're right, 100%.
Yeah. So hopefully damage control. And if Bailey wins tonight at Extreme Rules on Peacock on their premium live event, that could mean huge things for damage control moving forward.
Absolutely. And I love that.
Yeah. So is it going to be Bailey coming out? I guess it's prediction time for this Raw Women's Championship match. Does Bailey come out on top, or does Bianca Belair's reign continue?
So I think that's actually probably the hardest match to predict for me personally, at least, because you see, we know WWE is high on Bianca Belair, and deservingly
Mhm.
so. And her reign so far has been pretty good, if you ask me. Like I saw fans like be like, okay, nah, it's been meh, but I enjoyed it from start to finish. Um, so I personally probably wouldn't end it here, at least now. But on the other hand, you have Bailey, the leader of a brand new hot faction that is taking over WWE TV. So she could take the W, but on the other hand, it's her first big singles match. So what if
Uh,
today, okay, you can take your loss here, maybe do a rematch after Survivor Series or Crown Jewel maybe, and take the dub there, you know? I personally would let Bianca retain, and I think most likely Bianca is retaining too.
okay. Well, I could see that happening. Because like you said, a lot of these matches are toss ups. Like you could do head tails. We could be talking about this until we're blue in the face, and then in your case stay up till like 4 a.m. watching Extreme Rules, and then we're like, well, we got all of these wrong. Um, but you know, especially because your theory is Bray Wyatt returns during the I Quit match with Edge and Finn Balor. I feel like there's going to be something happening with Bray Wyatt in terms of Alexa Bliss, the words spelling out, Bel Air in like the shield type code,
Yeah.
with the Brave, Echo, Lima. I don't even know the rest. Um, I could see with like them doing this and Alexa Bliss costing them the match. Like I could totally see that. Um, we actually have a comment from Isaiah Carlton. I believe the reason Raquel and Aaliyah won was because of shock value, because everyone figured Dakota and Io would win. Yeah, I figured that. I figured that would win. And Seydo, I don't know if it was worth it for the shock value.
Nah.
Nah, I mean Isaiah's right. Isaiah's completely right. That's exactly why they did that. Um, but yeah, that would that would be. Uh, I just feel like they missed an opportunity. But hey, when Aaliyah's maybe released in like a year or two, they can always say Aaliyah and Raquel, and it'll be a fun trivia night.
Yeah, you're right, bro.
But thank you, Isaiah, for listening and tuning in. Great stuff. Uh, I, I'm going to go. Ah, I'm going to go Bailey. I'm going to go Bailey for win the Raw Women's title. Season premiere of Raw this Monday. Have Damage Control hold all the belts. It'll be like an evolution type of thing. Uh, Yeah, that's where I'm going. But I wouldn't be surprised if Bianca wins. I'll be rooting for Bailey. I love Bailey, and probably not as much as the UK did with Clash at the Castle. Um, before we get into our main event, where we talk Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey, we have another question coming in. This isn't technically Extreme Rules talk, but I do want to touch on it because it happened last night at SmackDown, and I popped out of my chair. It was awesome. This comes from Johnny, who was actually a guest on the podcast this past Monday. If you haven't watched that episode, Go watch that episode. Johnny has all the White Rabbit. Dude, he has studied this intently. It was such a fun conversation. But Johnny asked, he slid in the DMs, what do you think about Zelina Vega replacing Elektra Lopez in Legado del Fantasma? And was it necessary? Seydo, this kind of sounds a little similar to a conversation we were having last night.
Yeah. Um, so like my immediate reaction was like, it's a bad idea. Like I didn't know how to feel about it, but it's a bad idea kind of thing, you know? Because like don't get me wrong, I love Zelina Vega. She's one of my favorites. But when you have something that works perfectly together, why change it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But like after last night, I told you this actually. I think I wrote it to you. Like when Z debuted with them, I was like, okay, this works. I'm fine with it, you know.
Yeah,
So like, see that.
that was funny. That was a great question from Johnny. Because I remember like we were talking about this, I believe before the show, and I was like, I've heard Electra Lopez worked so well with the group. I was also under the impression if Andrade comes back, you have to pair Andrade and Selena together. We've realized that they are the perfect pairing and need to be
Yeah,
together moving forward if Andrade returns to WWE. But yeah, like Zelina's that type of manager who can take you to the next level. And I feel like even with Elektra Lopez, there was maybe a ceiling there. And with Zelina, it just takes you to a whole other level. Yeah, we are back with you. Sorry about the, little technical difficulties. My phone just blew up with text. But as I was saying, Zelina Vega can take you to that next level rather than, Elektra Lopez. No offense to Elektra. And I wasn't even a fan of Elektra being added to Legado del Fantasma down in NXT until I saw them work, and I was like, okay, but maybe she can rekindle her little fling with Zion Quinn down in NXT. I don't know what they're doing with her, but
it's a possibility.
it's a possibility. Great question, Johnny. About excited for them. That whoever ends on this Brawling Brutes and Imperium, I could totally see Legado del Fantasma starting a rivalry with the Brawling Brutes, and then Imperium maybe going after the Bloodline. You know, even vice versa at this point, because WWE, particularly on SmackDown, now has a good arsenal of tag teams or factions that they can rely on.
Absolutely.
So if you've been joining us for this live stream, thank you so much. But we have one more match. And again, we could main event with the Raw Women's Championship. We could main event with the SmackDown Women's Championship. And kind of feel weird talking WWE when I have all the AEW stuff in the background right here. See all those AEW action figures I hung up. Finally found a purpose for the plenty of Christmas gifts that my parents bestowed on me this past year. But it is the Extreme Rules match. We're letting Extreme in with Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey and Johnny. Before we get into who we think wins this match, this is the only Extreme Rules match on the card, which is the perfect way to go because every other match is going to feel different than this one. And I want to talk about Liv Morgan's title reign real quick because fans have been waiting for this moment for a long time. And do you think she's delivered as champion, or has there been more left to be desired?
There's probably more left to be desired for me because like the cash in was cool. Like the first month was okay, but I feel like that he with Rousey took
Mhm.
everything from Liv. Like, don't get
Really?
me wrong, I like Liv a lot. She has improved tremendously this year. But I feel like ever since Ronda returned this year, she has been going downhill for me personally. I didn't enjoy her work as much. So it's kind of been a time where I'm like, okay, it could have been better, and I hope that if it continues tonight, it gets better.
Yeah. Now, to clarify, when you say when Ronda Rousey returned, you're talking about Liv Morgan going downhill.
No, no, I meant Rousey down. Rousey returned like in January at the Royal Rumble, I think.
Mhm. Yeah.
I was like when in 2019, 2018,
Oh,
2000,
yeah. With 19 with Becky.
right. I was a huge fan of Rousey. Like I enjoyed her work as a face heel both, but like her run on SmackDown, I don't know, man. It felt so weird for me.
Huh. Now, this is interesting because I could go the completely opposite way of this. I mean, I was not a fan of Ronda Rousey in 2019, and it I felt like she was a big name to grab, but I was like, "We're doing so well with the 4 horsewomen and women who have been wrestling, like, 8, 10 years who, like, made this a passion, and then Ronda
Yeah,
Rousey just being inserted in there as, like, the big name, and was at the end of the day to put Becky Lynch over in the way that they did, which is fair, but I'll be honest, I feel like this is the best stuff of Ronda Rousey's career just with, her little spat with Adam Pearce, fighting on security. I don't know, like, I'm kinda digging Ronda Rousey right now.
that's fair, bro.
And this is the best thing about wrestling. We talked about, global, my friend Seydo of Infinity of Wrestling. Uh, he's originally from Turkey, now living in Germany. He stays up super late to watch some wrestling. I hope you didn't have to work today.
Uh,
uh,
no,
and then the other thing is, we can watch the same product. And a lot of people ask me who aren't wrestling fans, like, why do you like wrestling? One, it bonds people. Sato and I don't have a tie to each other than we love this. Like, we love watching wrestling. We love talking about it. We love creating content about it. You can follow his Instagram page that's popped up on the bottom screen right here if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. But also, we can watch the same product and have two completely different opinions. He's like, yeah, this Ronda stuff isn't working for me. And I'm like, Ronda Rousey might be doing the best work of her career in my eyes. But I do agree with you. There's a little bit to be desired with Liv Morgan. Like, there was the pop of her cashing in Money in the Bank, which I feel like they could have held on to a little bit longer. I feel like if they hold on to it until Triple H gets in control, they didn't know what would happen, obviously, with everything going on. But if Liv Morgan cashes that in with Triple H in control, maybe I feel a little bit different about it. But
yeah.
I don't. It was definitely for the main pop at the end. Um, we have another comment from Isaiah Carlton. The only thing that can save Liv's title reign is if they turn her heel over time. She barely gets away with every match, getting more morally gray every match until she's fully heel. She's shown just like a flash or two of like a little bit of heel. I remember when she was getting booed when she was on the mic a few weeks ago. Do you think they could save her by turning her heel?
The fans turn on her anyway, so they could, but I don't think Liv would work as a heel.
Yeah, because she has been beloved by the fans.
Yeah.
Uh, and uh, I I don't know if she works better as a face or a heel.
When
Now,
was the last year?
huh?
When was the last time she was a heel? I don't even remember.
Dude, I don't think she's been a heel. because
Really?
she was in NXT, you know, you only live once, live forever, and she got to the main roster with Riot Squad. I believe Riot Squad was over his faces, if I'm not mistaken on that.
I don't remember, man.
But even if they were heels, like everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, Liv Morgan's amazing and everything." Uh, you know, I yeah, they were like, "Oh my gosh, Liv's the best, whatever." And then I remember her returning, you know, as you know, crashing Rusev and Lana's wedding, saying, you know, I'm your lover, and she wasn't talking to Rusev. I was like, okay. Uh, and then the fans pop for that, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Liv Morgan's back!" And
Yeah,
because when she got booed in the arena, I was shocked.
same.
Um, So yeah, maybe Turner heel, maybe Isaiah. That would be a good experiment. But I don't know, man. We'll have to see. But you know, Seydo, I believe it's prediction time. Who are you taking tonight? Potentially the main event. Does this main event Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey?
Um, I don't think it will main event. Like, I think it will either be Bianca versus Bailey or Edge versus Balor. But I see Liv retaining with the help of Charlotte. Like,
Charlotte.
yeah,
Oh, now we're talking.
like Charlotte could return, like attack Rousey, not even help Liv, but like attack Rousey because they had a feud going on.
Yeah.
Charlotte is kind of mad. And I see Flair feuding with Rousey over the next 1 or 2 months, and then like Liv having some other feuds where she could like reputate herself again, and then like maybe I don't know. Do we have a draft this year?
Graphics?
Nah, draft like the draft with Raw SmackDown,
Oh, I don't think so.
right? Because they didn't announce anything.
Not sure.
So I could either see Charlotte going after Liv like at the beginning of next year, or if a draft happens, like go to Raw and then feud with Bianca.
Oh, yeah. I haven't heard anything about a draft. Like, I heard briefly about a draft in October. It's October now, and I haven't heard anything. The season premieres are like mixing up a little bit.
Yeah,
Um, that's the only reason I'm like, I would love there to be a draft, like get a little fresh. But if Charlotte returns the same night as Bray Wyatt, hopefully, like, don't do this 2-day delay with the White Rabbit clock, whatever. If that happens, then you know what a pay-per-view, man. We talked about this at the beginning of the live stream. This could very well be pay-per-view of the year, premium live event of the year, and I think Clash at the Castle right now is that event.
that's fair. It was a great show.
Great show. Drew McIntyre, I thought the entire time he was going over. But when it comes to Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey, I want you say Liv. I want to say Ronda Rousey. And if for no other reason, I can't help but look at Crown Jewel coming up. And I'm sure the Saudi people would love Ronda Rousey in a match if they're going to have a women's match there, which they have had, a good women presence on the Saudi shows as of late. They've done really good with that. Uh, I'm I'm feeling Ronda Rousey goes over, and if Charlotte returns, Ronda versus Charlotte at Crown Jewel.
That's a good point, man. Could happen like that as well.
Yeah, but Seydo, we're going to have to get running. Dude, it was great talking to you, man. It was great stuff. You can follow his Instagram, Infinity of Wrestling, on the bottom. You can also follow the Drop the Mic Wrestling podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram. And Seydo, it's been an awesome time, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, man. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, yeah. We got to do this again sometime. Again, follow Infinity of Wrestling on Instagram. Follow Drop the Mic Wrestling on Instagram. And everyone, enjoy Extreme Rules. We'll have another mic drop Monday. We'll have a podcast dropping Monday on YouTube and Spotify. And until then, enjoy your weekend and let me in.